Welcome to the SAG-AFTRA Foundation's Conversations at Home program. I'm Jim Halterman, West Coast Bureau Chief of TV Guide Magazine. Before we're joined by our guest today, I want to let you know that the SAG-AFTRA Foundation is a nonprofit organization that relies entirely on donations to provide emergency assistance and free educational programs to SAG-AFTRA artists. This conversation is made possible thanks to the generosity of our supporters. Over the past year, the foundation has given over $6.5 million in COVID relief to more than 7,000 performers. If you are a SAG-AFTRA artist and need help, please ask. And if you can help, please give. Information can be found in the description of this video. Thanks for your support. Now, I'm excited to get into this conversation with the cast from Netflix's critically acclaimed comedy series, The Kominsky Method. With me is Kathleen Turner, who plays Sandy Kominsky's fiery ex-wife, Roz. Hi, Kathleen.
Hello.
Sarah Baker, who plays Sandy and Roz's fierce daughter, Mindy Kominsky. Hi, Sarah.
Hi.
Paul Reiser, who plays Mindy's ponytailed fiance, Martin. Hi, Paul.
That's my adjective of choice, my ponytailed.
I think it works.
Sure.
And Lisa Edelstein, who plays Norman Newlander's slightly erratic daughter, Phoebe. Hi, Lisa.
Stable as I ever was.
Well, let's just jump right in. I mean, viewers have not seen episodes of the show since 2019. There were a lot of delays, of course, in the world. How was it to be back on set, to film these last episodes?
I think given everything that was going on in the world, I was feeling really lucky that it happened. It seemed, I up until the last minute, I thought, I don't know if are we really going to get to do this? And luckily, Chuck Lorre, our creator and writer, he'd started some of his other shows. I think he had a couple months run up to when we started. So in terms of COVID protocols and all that, they sort of had that down by the time we were starting. So that was reassuring. So we got to walk into an environment where it was new to us maybe, but they'd already been working that way for a while. And, of course, we're thrilled to have Kathleen coming on board full time. And that was very intimidating and exciting. and ended up being wonderful. So, I think I was thrilled to get to work during this time and really glad that we knew going into it, okay, this is going to be our last season, and we had all the scripts, knew where everything was going. So I was just glad that we were able to do it and to finish and to, in these times actually work. Yeah.
Lisa, how about for you? How was that?
It was fantastic. I mean, like Sarah, I was just so thrilled to be able to work during COVID. It's a really weird experience because even though you've reunited, you don't get to see anybody or hang out with anybody because you come on, you take your mask off, you say your lines, and then you are immediately taken into a room by yourself where you have to sit by yourself and wait for the next time to come out. So it's hardly a reunion. I think the best part was we started out doing read-throughs. We read through the whole season in 2 days, and that was so great to see the whole company at work and to see Michael and Kathleen and their incredible chemistry together just sort of come alive because we hadn't seen that really before except for the one phone conversation in season 2. So It was great. And that was the only time we got to see Paul without his bald head and ponytail. Although we still couldn't see each other because we were all masked. So
we were all masked and we were behind these plastic things. So it was like it was like Nuremberg and everybody was Eichmann. It was like, just everybody separated. And comedy doesn't work well through plastic. You need atmosphere. I was thinking about it, guys. There's very strict protocols, and Chuck's team was very on it, and Warner Brothers was on it. So you have your teams, the red team, the yellow team, the crew, and then like everybody's masked except actors. Go ahead, you could talk and kiss and touch. It's like, okay, I guess, like you're dispensable, but do not touch the prop guy. Don't get him sick.
Well, I'm glad you guys got it done. Kathleen, we got a taste of your character in season 2, and then seeing her so much in season 3 was just a gift, I think. Tell me about working with Michael again, because I'm guessing there's just nice shorthand between the two of you at this point.
People keep asking about our chemistry. I think it's really a question of trust. I think we've been through so many adventures together through the jungle, through the desert, in the chandelier, that we just we just cut right through to depending on each other and knowing each other, and there's no questioning there. There's no, you don't have to sort of feel your way around. It's just like, it's you again,
And Sarah, Mindy's been around since the first episode. How has it been to play her as she's changed over these seasons? Because I feel like she has grown and she's changed since that first episode.
Yeah, I mean, I think initially her story was so much about her dad and her relationship with her dad, and probably a lot of things that needed to be mended there, and sort of indirectly were. I think like every kid craving your dad's respect, and so for Mindy, I think initially we just saw her in her role at the studio, in her relationship with her dad. And then, once that sort of was mended, I think when he turned the studio over to her, that sort of gave her that confidence she needed to okay, now she can settle into that a little bit and settle into that relationship. And now we get to see more of her personal life. We get to see her with her partner. And, this season we get to see her with her mom, which in comparison is a pretty, in a beautiful way, uncomplicated relationship because they're close and they love each other. And there doesn't seem to be a lot from their past that needs to be fixed. So we get to see sort of, Mindy is a pretty, strident person, but I think she, you get to see some of her vulnerability in caring for her mom and being with her, in her love relationship.
I actually like the fact that Martin and Roz kind of connect because they're closer in age. And how does Mindy react to that, Sarah?
Yeah, she's not a big fan, I mean, I think she's already gone through that with her dad and Martin. So I think, it's funny. There is definitely something to, to analyze there about why is she surrounding herself with these
older people
and then being annoyed by it. I don't know. I'm not sure what that's about, but there was a lot at play there too. I mean, I think there are a lot of excuses for Mindy to be mad at Martin this season that really had more to do with this question of the money and her dad saying, oh, you need to hide this thing. And that sort of put a rift in there where there didn't need to be one, maybe.
Yeah. And Paul, we really get to know a lot more about Martin this season. We see that he likes footwear. He does some things with shoes.
Made that sound kind of creepy.
I didn't mean to.
Yeah, well, we meet Martin's mom, played by the very, very funny Christine Ebersol, who was just really powerfully funny. Jeez. Yeah, I was watching the episodes, and there's a scene where we're with Kathleen and Sarah and I, and Kathleen and I having this bonding, and the irritation on Sarah's part was just like, oh yeah, they've been together. They're just now at this point where everything, you just said the wrong thing. They're not stewardesses, they're flight attendants. And it's like, really? Are you gonna pick on that? And it was just like, it was something so real in the writing that was, you just totally bought them as having been together a while.
Yeah. And Lisa, Phoebe is so fun to watch because you just never know which direction she's going to go. How has it been to play her since the early episodes? Because do you feel like she's changed? Has she not changed at all? How do you see it?
I think that she's just gotten sober, and you just sort of meet all the reasons why she wasn't before. And she's just this really wonderful, horrific narcissist who cannot see past her needs ever. So it's kind of, it's been a joy to play her because I get to exploit some of the worst relationships I've ever had in my life by playing them on TV.
What kind of mindset do you have to get into for a day playing Phoebe?
She's a really adolescent person. She's just stuck at like 13. And that's basically it. Like, she cannot see past herself. But it's super fun. I feel like season 1, she was completely out of control. So that's always fun. And season 2, she got sober, which was for a while really I was like, I hope she gets to have fun again. And then by the end, when she is making amends to her dad, you realize, oh yeah, she's just as crazy as she ever was. She's just not on drugs right now. And then season 3, to just be completely obsessed with the money was really fun. And working with Haley was great.
It was also fun to see the relationship with you and Haley, as like, oh, this kid, that's his mother. Geez. Okay. It was just a really great comic duo there.
I love
Walking
that.
out, why'd you say that? Yes. It was just funny.
Well, and since I just watched all the episodes, the writing is so sharp and so crisp, but is there room for you guys to ad lib? Is that encouraged, or do you pretty much stick to the scripts? Anybody who wants to answer?
I don't think we're encouraged ad lib at all. I think that if we want to change a line, or we think there's more or a better, you go to Chuck and you talk to Chuck about it. You don't just do it. It's no, his writing is so good. Don't muck with it, man.
He's very specific. He's extremely specific when he writes, including like what he's imagining, how you'll bring it to life. So you were really there to serve this greater idea.
And Kathleen, I wanted to ask, because we talked about the chemistry with you and Michael, and just like with the movies that you did years ago, I wanted these characters to get together, and it's not that simple, obviously, because they have a lot of history, but did you like the direction that the relationship went in these episodes?
Yeah, very, very much. I mean, I think that one of the things that Chuck said that really hooked me, before we started work, was the idea that people with such angry, difficult relationship backgrounds, could get past it, could once again see what might have attracted them to each other in the first place. I think there's a line or something where they say, this is weird. I like you, kind of thing. And it's just so grown up. I mean, I said, my God, Chuck, you're writing adults.
I love it. Sarah and Paul, talk about the relationship a little bit more. And Sarah, I'm curious, having Kathleen there this season, did it inform a little more about who Mindy was for you, since we did get to see her spend time with her mother?
Yeah, I mean, I think Mindy is cut from the same cloth as her mom, absolutely, and I think and very proud to be somebody who speaks their mind, who doesn't rely on a man, who's very independent, and I mean, Michael's character has a lot of work to do in making things up. And in making things up with Mindy's mom, I think that means a lot as a family, and for Mindy too, because I think a lot of her anger towards her dad is based on how awful he was to her mom, and how much she knew that she didn't deserve that. I mean, this is obviously a lot infer that, us actors sort of make up for ourselves.
Well, certainly Mindy must have seen, their relationship and how angry and how destructive it became. And the fact that, that Roz just ups and goes and starts working in clinics around the world, in which under terrible, difficult circumstances is a pretty good switch off from being the beat up wife of Sandy.
Yeah.
Paul, talk about being a part of that family, but then also when we see him with his mother, like you said, Christine Ebersol does such a great job. How did it inform the character for you to see a little more of his life?
It's funny, when I first read it, I was a little reluctant. It was so broad. She was so horrible, the character, and I thought, we really came to like Martin, and we saw, at the end of season 2, you saw a little bit of where he's come from. And I thought it risked being a cartoon that he was such a beat up mama's boy. But to be honest, I just trusted Chuck. I was like, he doesn't make a lot of mistakes. And I just said, let's do it. And I think we finessed it a little bit. There were a couple of lines that I wanted. Also, I was worried that scene where he doesn't defend Mindy in front and after his mom's tirade. I thought that's kind of really unappealing and unforgivable. So we had to temper that so that he's guilty and complicit, but not beyond forgiveness. And then, I love the scene when Michael comes to the house and he meets my mother and she cuts him to shreds in the course of 2 minutes. And Michael goes, all right, I get it. It's like, all right, so it's a little bit of understanding. He goes, yeah, you poor guy, you never had a chance. It's like, yeah, this is what I'm dealing with. But God, she was funny.
She's great. Lisa, I want to ask you, in the first episode of this last season, the eulogy that Phoebe delivers, I watched it more than once because I just thought what you did was fantastic. But talk about shooting that scene in particular, and just, I don't know how you don't laugh during giving lines like that, but talk about that a little bit.
That was my favorite moment of the whole season for Phoebe, because it's so disturbed. I loved shooting that monologue because I didn't want to control when Phoebe reached her emotional peak, because there were just so many different ways of looking at it. So it was really exciting to sort of let it, to see what happened. And I love that she doesn't cry really about her father dying. She's just so moved by her own actions and creating this rehab. That was my favorite speech. I just loved it because it's her. She's genuinely, has no idea how horrible she is.
One of my favorite lines of the whole season is in your eulogy when you're describing this rehab place. It's called what? Sweet Surrender. Every room is a junior suite or less. I went junior. Then he went with junior.
Junior's greater.
And even in your wildest dreams, I'm going to go to the other side of the world, but I'm going to just make that junior, not great. She said junior suite or better. I thought, God, that's really precise and funny.
Good. Do the rest of you have favorite moments from this season? Kathleen, did you have a scene that you particularly love doing?
Yeah, well, I love doing the scene in Musa Franks, when she sort of leads him on, sets him up, and knocks him down, Love that stuff.
Okay.
That's so fun. Sarah, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, a bunch of things spring to mind. There's a scene with Kathleen, Michael, Paul, and I where we're at the dinner table, and the two of them are sparring and going back and forth, but also getting along. And, Paul and I, as Martin and Mindy are just kind of observing this. And, Paul and I have said, like, as actors, as humans, we were getting to just kind of watch too and enjoy seeing the two of them together. And as we've said, because of everything with COVID, we're all, as Lisa said, in our like separate corners immediately. Because we were sitting around a table, there were times where, maybe they're just doing a quick lighting adjustment or something. So we actually just got to stay at the table together and like chat. And, it was right before Thanksgiving. So I think everybody had that like, excited feeling. And, both Kathleen and Michael have great stories, which I will not share here. And so anytime you just get to like this season, I think maybe the acting is always amazing and getting to observe somebody like Kathleen, somebody like Paul, somebody like Lisa, Michael, everybody in the cast was amazing. But in that moment, we just the sociability was so nice because I think everybody was craving it so much.
Yeah.
Paul, did you have a favorite moment from shooting this season?
We've all said this. It was really all fun. There was no day where you go to work and go, well, this scene is a stinker. It's all good. And you're working with everybody's going to be great. But to me, there's something funny and always more powerful about confined spaces. And I think I had one fun scene with Michael in his car, and where he knows that he has, planted this horrible bug about me in his daughter's ear, but I don't know that. And there's all this tension and suspense. That was really fun. And then the other was sort of the stateroom scene where all of us go with Haley, go over to Michael's house, and it's just compact. It's like, oh, we haven't been in a room with this many people. And, and Kathleen is going, not now, and he's going to propose. And it was all this crossfire. I thought, well, this is just fun. There's a lot of fun in this room. That was a great day.
Well, Paul, there's a scene, I won't spoil everything about it, but there's a very physical scene with Christine Ebersol's character when
Oh,
you're trying to
God.
get her into a car.
You can spoil it. People have seen it or have not. Yes, it's a little bit of throw mama from the train or under the train in that one. Yeah, that was mom has a little bit of an accident and I have to get her into my very, very small German car. And she is, sometimes people are so professional and so good and disciplined that it's annoying because Christine had to play out of it. So she did. And I went, you help me a little. Support your body a little bit. But she was great. She would, I would not have the discipline to hold a straight face during that scene, but she did.
And Michael's not here. We know he's, where is he, Kathleen? Mallorca?
Mallorca.
So he's not here.
They don't have Zoom there.
I guess not.
No, he's been working today.
Whatever. It's a little better without him. Can I be honest? It's really pleasant for a change.
But I have to say, one of the things I loved about season 3 is the fact that, in some ways he finds other people to fill the void that Norman had, or that Norman had in his life. Can you talk about shooting some of those scenes with Michael? I mean, Sarah, you guys have some really beautiful scenes. Can you talk about that a little bit and just working with Michael over these years?
Yeah, I mean, it's been terrific. I think a lucky thing for me is, when you're stepping into a scene with somebody like Michael, I mean, it's very easy to be wholly intimidated. And I think at the very first table read, just hearing his voice, he has such an iconic voice, and it kind of made the butterflies go from my stomach, like right up into my throat, But then by the time we're shooting, it's like, look, especially the way Mindy is written, she's not tiptoeing around the edges, she's telling her dad what to do and knows who she is. So I kind of just had to jump into that. And luckily, when you're playing, I have a dad. Most people are lucky enough to have a dad. And so I know what that relationship is, even though mine is obviously not identical to this in any way. But I think that was sort of what enabled me to just jump in and to know I've got to be there with him. I can't be sitting back or thinking like, oh, am I good enough to be here? Like, should I really be here? I just had to go for it. And Michael, is a wonderful person and very welcoming. And now it's to the point where like we have somebody like Morgan Freeman come to set, and I'm like, Michael, everybody wants a picture with Morgan. And he's like, okay, I'll work it out for you, So I've crossed over into a weird land where Michael Douglas is my friend and I'm getting him to help me meet other celebrities. So it's very surreal.
And Lisa, your scenes with Michael are usually a little more fiery. They're not so much tender and sweet, but how is it to work with him in some of those scenes?
Well, I agree with Sarah. Michael he's a mensch. Like, he is very welcoming on set, has been since day one. He didn't know anything about me. So I arrived like, wearing next to nothing and acting like I was wasted. So I think over the years, he's discovered that's not actually who I am, at least not all the time. But he's amazing. And like, what happens in your career as you go along, you just work with people who are more and more experienced. And it's just, it can be intimidating because you forget you also have a lot of experience. And you watch everybody else, like they really know what they're doing. Like, it's amazing what they do. And then you have to remember like, oh, right, I'm here because I also do this. So let's get past that part and just enjoy being co-workers.
Both Chuck and Michael believe very strongly in ensemble acting. Chuck, that's how he writes. And we know, anybody who's been in this business long enough knows that the support of other actors, and even, if they're really, really good, everybody's better. Yeah?
Yeah, it's good. And Paul, talk about working with Michael, because their characters have really changed since last season, because he definitely didn't warm to you right away. But this season, you guys are practically friends.
Yeah, but Chuck sort of wisely wrote wrote in this injection of the money issue, so he has another reason to suddenly not fully embrace me. Michael's been doing this for so long as producer and as star, and he certainly sets the tone of the set. And so when you see, not that anybody here is going to come unprepared, but when you see, number one on the call sheet and the producer, and he's got everything, and he's on top of it, you don't dare show up less than 100%. But I learned so much from watching. I think I might have shared this with you last time we chatted, that he's been doing it so long that it's easy to forget how good he is, and seeing it up front. I remember the first scene we did, and my sense was, boy, he's playing it a little soft, and I don't think he's going to like this because he's not so good in this scene. And then I would see it on film and go, oh, I'm crazy. He's fantastic. He knows exactly how to fill the space and how to modulate his performance. And it may not be flashy and it may not jump off the set, but when you see it on film, he's just masterful. So, I told him it really was like going to his acting class and watching him work.
All right. Before we wrap up, what do you guys hope viewers take from watching these last episodes? Because I watched them pretty quickly back to back and took a lot from them. But Kathleen, I'll start with you. What do you hope people take from watching the show?
Well, I hope they take a sense of being an adult in that it would be possible, I suppose, for Michael, for Sandy and Roz to stay in the past, to stay angry with each other, to stay embittered or unwilling to cooperate. And so what you see is they let it go. They stop living in the past, which frankly, both of them had been, in terms of each other. And they're willing to see what kind of relationship might be available now. And I like that.
Yeah. Lisa, what do you think? What do you want people to take from the show?
After Kathleen's profound discussion of being an adult.
Say same for me.
I hope they love it and they miss us. Because I play a completely vacuous human being on the show. I do hope they love it and that they miss us afterwards, because it really has been a really special experience. I wish was longer, with such a great group.
Okay. Sarah, how about you?
Yeah, I think I'm somewhere in between those two. I am neither profound nor vacuous. I don't know.
That's you, Lisa.
I get it. I'm vacuous.
No, Phoebe, not Lisa. Lisa's anything but. Yeah, I hope people love it. I think for myself, watching the episodes, it's so gratifying to see, everything is centered around Michael, and to see his character, the growth in his character. I think one of the things that I love about the way Chuck wrote the story is that it sort of reminds you that things are still possible in your life. Like sometimes, especially I think maybe as you get older, you start to think certain doors are closed to you, or certain things just aren't going to happen. Or maybe you're focused this way and then this other thing comes in, same for Paul with Martin. It's like, maybe he thought, oh, I'm never going to really find love. That's just not my lot in life. And then he does. So I think it's maybe about as you get older to just stay open, and because there are a lot of things that can happen that you're not expecting in life, and there are hard things, but there are great things too.
Okay. Paul, anything to add to all the wisdom?
Yeah, there's a lot of wisdom already covered. I think at the core of the show is this really delicious mix of funny and not funny, and that's what I think that's part of the appeal of the show is it looks like life, because these look like real people and they're not telling jokes. They're funny, and there's tragedy, and there's moment, and there's surprise. So everybody has seen these episodes, so we can talk about them. The part that was surprising to me, how moved I was watching it, was Michael's character trying to process his success at this point in life. Because you go, yeah, you do. You make yourself comfortable. I'll be this. And, you know, I'm only a few minutes from the grave, so I'm good. And then something wonderful happens. I go, well, now I got to reshuffle and recalibrate. But yes, there are surprises. There are sad surprises in this. There are happy surprises, and you have to be open to it. But that I had never seen that in a TV show before, or in a film. The idea of having that lovely surprise and victory, and what he does with it was really powerful.
Well, Paul, I think that's one of the most wonderful moments in the film when, you know, he's looking at his billboard and she sashe, you know, is that what you're doing? And he says, you know, he said, what do I do? What do I do with this, you know, with this?
Right.
And she says, enjoy it. And he says, I don't think I know how to do that.
Yeah.
Now that's us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's not saying I can't and I won't. He's going, yeah, I'm not familiar with that. That's us, yeah.
I love it. Well, for everybody watching this, go watch the third and final season if you haven't yet of the Kominsky Method right now on Netflix. And on behalf of the SAG-AFTRA Foundation, thanks to everybody here today for sharing your experiences, your process, your craft. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.